138 is where we're headed to start, go through some homework stuff. So the first group of 12, they give you 2 points. So pretty much in this or any section, if they give you 2 points, what is it necessary for us to figure out? The slope. The slope would be the word of the chapter. Slope keeps coming up all the time. In addition to just knowing about slope, what are some other things where we use the word slope as part of a bigger structure? There's slope-intercept form, point slope form. There's lots of things that have slope. Okay, so anytime they give you 2 points, if you do the slope, you're probably moving in a good direction. So that's our first move on 1 to 12 is figure out the slope. Once you figure out the slope, when you have to write an equation, what's usually, and I'll say 98% of the time, what's usually the best way to write an equation? Point slope. What's the equation look like for point slope?
Y
minus the y1, which will fill in a number, equals m, fill in a number,
x minus x1.
x minus x1, where that's a number we'll fill in. This is actually the variable y, this is actually an x, and then we fill in the blanks with a y, the slope, an x, you set that up. Once you set it up, you're not usually done. What do we usually have to do here? Distribute, and then usually this number gets to move over, add or subtract to get that move. So if you did that on 1 to 12, if you found the slope and filled that number in here, and then you distribute and stuff, we're good. Number 1, I'll say, is y equals half x plus 7/2. If you don't like improper fractions, 3.5 works. If you don't like fractions at all, 3.5 works. If you don't have any of those, then something wrong has happened, and let's troubleshoot that. But number 1, your first move would be to figure out that the slope is a half. Put the half in here, and then pick either of the points and stick the other numbers in and distribute stuff. Does anybody need help on 1 getting y equaling a half x plus 7/2? Then let's do this for answers. Just read me the final number without the x. If you get that number, you probably have the problem right. Anybody for 2? What's your final number? Y equals blah, 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 x, and then how does it end?
So I wasn't here.
Okay.
This is probably wrong. So for 2, for 2 and 6, would the slope be 2? Or
No. No, you have to do the formula from a couple days ago. This formula. The slopes will be always some kind of fraction. Occasionally you'll luck your way into it reduces to a whole number, but most of the time they'll stay fractions.
I'll do it real quick.
Ending of 2.
Did you say the number with the x or without the x?
The final number without the x
11.
is an 11. If number 2 ends with a plus 11, everything else pretty much had to be right. How about 3 is a little bit weird for the final number?
You say
Nothing. You shut out. It's not going to have a final number. Anybody 4? Same thing. Also does not have a final number. 5 does have a final number. Instead of the plus 11 like number 2 had, what will 5 end up with? No, it'll be a whole number. 5 will finish with a whole number.
Plus 5.
It is a plus 5 at the finish of 5. 6 finishes with a whole number. Anybody the 6 finish?
Minus 3.
It is minus 3. 7 finishes with a fraction or a decimal or a mixed number. It's kind of ugly.
Plus 17 over 4.
17 over 4 is true on the positive side. 8 is equally ugly of a fraction or decimal or mixed. Anybody 8 with an ugly finish?
Sometimes I don't look normal.
Yeah, it's a mixed number or something on 8 to finish.
we're gonna be 34 over 5.
No, it is over 5. It's not 34, but that's not
30.
too
No,
far
not
off.
30. I'm stupid.
Anybody on 8 have an ending that's over 5? I'll just leave that there then. The ending is going to be something over 5. 9's ending and 10's ending have the same ending.
There is no ending.
There is no ending. It's just y equals fraction-y thing x. 11's ending.
I would say there's not. It has no
is a 5. It's a positive 5 to end 11. 12's ending? There is no ending. Agreed. I could do one of those. It sound maybe talk you through it. You had to sound like a bad time on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Pick one that was bad. 8.
Was
Okay. So 8. Did you get a slope?
of 5.
Okay. Should be a 5th.
That's
Did you do some slopes upside down?
yeah. I put X on top.
Okay. Did you do that once in a while, or did you steadily get that must?
I think I did that a couple times.
Okay,
It's
let's
probably
check
not-
those. Check that first. Yeah, if your slope's upside down, then that'll explain it. So we found that person's problem. Anybody?
Slope of 7.
Slope on 7 is a 4th. Did that cause problems, or did you have
No,
that?
I got it.
Okay.
I put X.
Anybody else want to know a slope? Anybody else want me to help you troubleshoot something on 12 and figure out where it went sideways, if stuff just went sideways? I said this the first day. I haven't heavily advertised this yet over the year, but the homework is like the key to your career. If you make mistakes on the homework, they're not going to go away unless you figure them out. So that this is probably the most important part of our daily routine, is the part where we troubleshoot your homework. With that in mind, anybody want some troubleshooting? First 12. Okay, 13 is easier for a while, and then things get a little harder at 19. Why does life get a little more work heavy for us starting on 19 for a while compared to the first 6?
You have to X one.
This Y is already alone.
Yeah, close, right idea, wrong variable. We want to get the y alone. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, the y is already alone, so we're in good shape. On 19, you have to start to work a little bit to get the y alone. Maybe you have to add or subtract something. You almost always have to divide something, but we need to get the y's alone on these, and then we can read off the answers. So 13 is ready to read. For 13, which of the numbers that we can already see is the slope? It's the 2. And the intercept is 0, 3. For the purposes of this homework in the back, they were just writing intercept is 3. So if you just wrote intercept is 3, I'm fine with that. If you wrote that the intercept is 0, 3 as an ordered pair, I think that's even better. Okay, but if you went with what the back said and just wrote the 3, I can't criticize that. That's what the book is saying. But if you say 0, 3, I think that's a better answer. 17 maybe for the slope might bother people. Somebody 17 a slope, what do you think?
6.
No.
-1.
It's -1. They tricked you twice. One, they put it out of order, and 2, the 1 is invisible. Okay, but the number with, what's the slope? How do you find the slope?
It's the number with the X.
It's with the x. So regardless of where they arrange things, the x number is the slope. So 17, slope is -1. Intercept has something to do with 6, or write it as this ordered pair with 0, 6, something like that. Let's go 19. 19 is the first one you had to get the y alone. Once you did that, what's 19's slope?
3.
Not quite 3,
Negative.
-3. Intercept
5.
is the 5 family, because we're going to have to divide everything by the 2. The 2 is going to divide everybody, so 6 and 10 become 3 and 5. Let's go 25. 25, there's a good bit of solving you have to do. One of these is a fraction, one of these is a whole number. 25 slope, -7 over 3, intercept is therefore a whole number. It is -3. 27's a little weird. Slope on 27. It is 0. And then the intercept must be something to do with 7. Remember, the y equals lines go horizontal. Those have 0 slope. That ties into our vocabulary life. That's a handful of the answers. I can do more of those if anybody was having trouble with those. I'll throw 23 out there too. That was another bigger one. 23 is a -3 slope and a +4 intercept. I'll throw you 29. 29 is another 0 slope with a -10/3 as an intercept. So you at least have half-ish of those answers out there in the public to check. Anybody question about answer stuff on them.
What did you say the 29 was?
29, slope would be 0, intercept would be negative 10/3. Anybody clean up on them? Okay, let's talk some graphs. For 13, if you're going to make a graph, where's the first point you would throw on your graph?
The intercept?
The intercept, which is where on 13? Up how many?
3.
Up 3. So 13's graph would start off by going up 3, make a dot, and then move from that dot. From that dot as like your new home base, your new origin. Where does the slope of 2 take you from that location?
Up to right.
Up 2 and right 1 to make another dot, and then play connecting dots. Let's talk 15. 15, where would you go first?
Up 9.
Up 9, make a dot, and then from that dot,
Down 4 over 1.
down 4 and right 1. Make another dot, play connect the dots, and we'll just kind of continue like that through. I can keep talking if you want to keep talking about graphs, but if you, let's do one more. 17, you'd go up 6, make a dot, and then from there go right 1, down 1. You go right 1, down 1, make another dot, keep doing that, you're going to get a good one. Anybody need me to graph on the board? Anybody need me to do anything on the board? Or anything more you want to talk about homework to feel confidence that you are on the right track? Then they save the easiest for last, which is, I feel bad to say that, because then if I ask for an answer and somebody gets it wrong, then they feel bad, but it is the truth. The easiest section was last. They're giving you the slope, and they're giving you the intercept. So, what is slope-intercept form again? Plus b, where the m represents the slope. So all you need to do is copy the slope in this slot, and copy the intercept in that slot, and you're good. So what would 33 look like?
Y equals negative 4x plus 3.
Agreed. They're all going to be y equals, and then negative 4 next to the x, because that was the slope, plus the 3, because that's the other number. You do that 4 times, you'll go 4 for 4 on that side. I'm just doing that. Anybody 138 need any kind of aid to understand what was happening? A lot of those skills are still going to come into play today. We're not going to graph anything today, but you are going to get stuff in slope-intercept form today some more. You are going to sometimes have 2 points, and if they give you 2 points, you'll have to figure out the slope. You are going to have to write some equations. When you write equations, it's this. Some of those skills carried forward with 2 new little tidbits. But anybody, last call, question of old before we move on to new. So if homework is done, 138, make sure your name is on there, send it down. If you're a person that hasn't started, let's talk about that when we're not recording. And then let's fire off this new ideas. If you have your vocab quiz around that we filled in all but maybe 2 of the answers, we're going to fill in those last 2 answers today. So today we're talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. To this point of the chapter, what word did we decide about 5 minutes ago was easily the most important word of the chapter? Slope. Slope's in everything. Slope's in today's some more. For lines to be parallel, does anybody have a memory, or if you don't have a memory, have an insight? It is. Parallel lines have to have the same slope. There's a second tidbit that I'll share with you. They also have to have different intercepts. And they're going to have you judge that. So the first part of the homework is just going to ask you, yes or no, are these lines parallel? And the judgment you'll make, they have to have the same slope. They also have to have different intercepts. Because where would they be if they had the same slope and they had the same intercept?
They would just be the same one.
They'd be like 2 lines stacked on top of each other. Those aren't parallel lines, that's the same line twice. So to be parallel, they need different intercepts to be in different locations, but have the same slope. So if my goal is to talk about same slopes and different intercepts, when I see this equation, I'm pretty happy. And when I see this equation, I'm a little bit grouchy. Why am I happy about this and a little bit grouchy about this if my goal is to talk about same slopes and
You
different
can already
intercepts?
see the slope and an intercept.
I can already see the slope and the intercept on this. This number is the slope, and this number is the intercept. I'm happy because this equation was already in
Slope and intercept.
slope-intercept form. This, I'm a little grouchy because it's not in slope-intercept form. So on the homework, I want to see enough work from you that I can see you put this into slope-intercept form and that you didn't just go, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, no. I hope that's the pattern today. Yes, no, no, yes, no, no, yes, yes. Hope. I want to see the y equals stuff just so we can verify what we're doing is right. If I make this y equals, what new numbers will get produced?
Negative 3x and 5.
Negative 3x plus 5. Where this is the
Slope.
slope and this is the intercept. So now that we have that to look at, yes or no, did we obey the rules?
No.
No. Why did we break the rule?
They're both the same.
They're the same line. They have the same slope, but they also have the same intercept. Those two lines are just stacked on top of each other, so that's a no. Question about how we're doing this? Get it in slope-intercept form? Judge? They had the same slopes, but they also had the same intercepts. So we'll say no, because the rule is they need the same slope, but different intercepts. Is that okay? So let's do one more, same style. So I look at this, we're happy or we're mad?
That one we're happy.
That one we're happy, because we're in slope-intercept form. The y's already alone, so we can read right away, slope is
9x.
9, intercept is
4.
4. So we're good on that one. This,
No, not happy.
not happy. A little bit not happy, or a lot?
Not a bit.
Well, not a bit. There's nothing looking good about this. So this is about as much work as we can have. Who are you going to attack first? Yeah, you know, you could. Most people will want to leave the y on the left, but you could actually move only the y. But I think that'll freak out some of our OCD people that like the variable always on the left. So more people, I think, will leave the y's, and then when those get moved out, they'll become positive 18 and positive 10. If you would want to ship out the 2y, that's okay. If you ship the 2y out, it would become negative 2y. In this setting, we now have to divide by 2 to make 9x plus 5. If we went the other way, we'd have divided by negative 2, and when you divide, if everything was negative and you divide by negatives, it'll turn into positives. We'd settle here the same way either way. So again, the rules are same slopes. Do they have same slopes?
Yeah.
Yes. Different intercepts?
Yes.
Yes, 4 versus 5. So we're saying
Yes.
yes. Question about the first game of parallel, yes or no? Anything there? Just taking a quick peek at the homework page, you're now practiced up to go from 1 to 6. 7 to 12 will be like what we're tackling in the next call. If they ask you to write an equation, as soon as you hear write an equation, 98% chance, what are you using? Point slope form. That's why I didn't erase this a minute ago, because I knew that's where we were headed. We just need to fill in the blanks with things. So we want the equation of a line, so use that 98% of the time. We want to be parallel to this line. We want to go through the point 1, 5. Now, which number right away can we just use without any work? The 1 and the 5. Where should the 1 go?
With the x.
With the x. Where should the 5 go?
The y.
With the y. So 1 and 5, that gives us the point part of point slope to put in the x1 and the y1. How are we going to fill in the slope?
So the 2.
Not quite. Yes. Why am I reluctant to commit to that immediately? Yeah, because this equation is not y equals. Any equation that you're given, you're going to want to make it y equals before you can try to do anything. If we get this y equals,
That's negative 2.
It's negative 2x minus 80. So this is going to be
Negative
negative 2, because for this line, negative 2 is the slope. And parallel means same slope. So we'll take the slope we have and just keep the same number. Question about how we jump through there. Then what? Every time once you get it set up in point slope form,
two.
distribute. So negative 2x plus 2 to get the y completely alone.
Y equals negative 2x plus 7.
True. Question about parallel life on that side of the line. If your vocab quiz is handy, which number asked about parallel?
19.
19. So just say same slope. You don't have to say, did it ask just about slopes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
So-
do about the slope.
Same slope, that's all you need to say. You don't need to say anything about the intercepts. Okay, so parallel versus perpendicular. Parallel means this, like they're never going to touch each other. Perpendicular, what's perpendicular about? They not only touch each other, but they touch each other to make a right angle. So if we're making a right angle, that's perpendicular. They don't have to go vertical and horizontal. I mean, we could make an X this way, you know, different diagonal things, but we need to make a right angle. 7th grade life, you might remember drawing pictures like this. And if you wanted to show me that we're all convinced it's right angles, what would you do in a
A
corner?
little square.
Put a little square in the corner to just like convince, hey, we're positive that's a right angle. There's something true about the slopes on perpendicular lines. Anybody have a memory of that? Let's start with this. If one of the lines has, what kind of slope is this? Positive slope. The perpendicular line to it must have negative slope. Or if the one line had negative slope, the perpendicular must have positive slope. So there's something going on with that.
Negative reciprocal.
They are negative reciprocals. So the negative has to do with, we need to switch the signs. What's reciprocal, so what's that mean in math life?
Like 1 is like negative 1.
That would be, it means in fraction form, we'd have to flip them. So could somebody give me an example of a pair of numbers that would be negative reciprocals?
1 and negative
1 and negative 1 would do it, but that might slightly give people the false impression that all you need to switch is the sign, and that's not all you need to switch. Can somebody give me another example that illustrates?
1/4 and 4.
Okay, we could go 1/4 versus 4. I'd say no, not quite.
And it's like one of them would have to be negative.
One of them would have to be negative. So if we go positive 1/4, we could go negative 4. If we did negative 1/4, we did positive 4. The signs have to be different and they flip upside down. Like, for example, negative 2/3. Negative 2/3, friend, would be positive 3/2. So they have to be negative reciprocals. So that's a vocab answer. You can fill that one in. An alternative way to say this is that they multiply to make negative 1. Some books will say that. I don't personally say that usually, but it's just as true. Okay? If we took all of these number pairs and we multiplied them, they multiply to make negative 1. That's just as good of a way to explain
1.
it.
So like on the quiz, they just put like 0 and negative
You have to use words on the quiz to explain the idea, not do an example. So you'd have to say negative reciprocals or multiply to make negative.
1. Right.
This is only about the slopes. We don't care about the intercept. So slopes only on this section. So when we look at this equation, are we happy or mad?
Happy.
We're happy because it's
It's in the form already.
in slope intercept form already. This one we're a little grouchy because it's not in slope intercept form. So to get it in slope intercept form, you'd first
Put positive x minus 4
close.
plus x.
It'd still be a plus.
It'd still be a positive 4. It'd still be a positive 4 and it would be a positive x in whatever order you put them. It doesn't really matter. To get y completely alone, 2
Plus half x.
half x. Because this has an invisible 1 and we have to divide by 2. The intercepts don't matter, just look at the slopes. Okay, so for this one, what's the slope? -2. For this one, what's the slope? Positive half. Is that the kind of thing we're hunting?
Yes.
Yes. This one's negative, this one's positive. 2 upside down becomes a half, because 2 is over 1. Yes, that's what we're hunting. Question about that? Another one, same style. So top equation is
Great.
good, bottom equation,
No.
no. So probably most people will leave the 3y. When x crosses over,
Now it's negative.
subtract. When 9 crosses over,
Add.
it's an add. To get the y alone,
Negative a third.
negative a third, because that has the 1 and we're dividing by 3.
Plus 3.
And that's a 3. I should leave the x there. We only care about the slope. So slope here,
3. Negative
so
3.
-3. Slope here,
Negative a third.
negative a third. Is that what we're hunting?
No.
No. Why no? It's close.
These are both
They're
negative.
both negative. That's a no-go. That's the game you'll play. Another yes/no game. Now we're 13 through 16. That's what those are doing. Question about that game? And the last game's write an equation. As soon as they say write an equation, 98% of the time, point slope, which is going to go y minus y1, which in this case
It would be plus 3.
is this +3. It'll drop in. Equals. Slope, let's come back.
X minus 2.
X minus 2 in this case for the x1. The coordinates kind of drop in pretty quickly. The slope is what you're going to have to work on. Question about that? Let me rewind a second. I keep saying 98% of the time I'm doing point slope. The other 2%, where might I go? Straight to slope intercept, but that only happens 2% of the time, because what do you have to be given to go straight there? An intercept, which would mean this wouldn't look like 2 -3. One of these numbers would have to be the 0. Which one would be the 0? The 2. So if this were 0 -3, I'd go straight to slope intercept, because that would be the intercept. But unless the point you're given has a 0 in the x plot, work through point slope 98% of the time. But on occasion where they drop you a 0, straight to slope intercept. Why does this not help us at all yet? It's not y equals. So any equation you get or create, you have to make it slope intercept. So let's leave the 2y.
Minus 3.
We'd subtract 3x. So minus 3x, but still minus 10. Y would equal
Negative a half.
negative
3 over 2.
3 halves
3 over 2, yes.
x
Y.
minus 5. We're doing all this to always hunt the slope. Slope's the word of the chapter. So since the slope is negative 3 halves, what most people are going to do is go drop in negative 3 halves, and they are wrong. They were right a minute ago, but we've crossed the line. Before we crossed the line, parallel meant same slope. We now live in perpendicularville. In perpendicularville, the slopes are negative reciprocals. So if this is negative, we need to go
2/3.
positive, and we've got to flip. 3 halves becomes 2/3. We need to go negative reciprocals in perpendicularville. Question about that move. Then let's distribute. So y plus 3 equals 2/3 x. And then this time we didn't get a nice cancel. Often we've gotten nice cancels on these because I'm kind of nice on the board and the book is kind of nice sometimes in the homework and creates you cancels, but they didn't. This would be a negative 4/3. To get the y alone, the math you'd have to do would be to do what with 3? Subtract 3. So maybe a scratch work zone. Negative 4/3 is subtracting 3. 3 is over 1. We need to subtract with called common denominator. So if we're changing the bottom, we change the top to 9. Now it works. Grand fraction total,
I mean, 13.
13 over 3. Now you're good up to 22, and I'm gonna stop the lesson, but the homework goes 23 to 28. So what's gonna happen 23 to 28, they're gonna try you out with a variety of skills. Nothing new, it's more stuff that's old. So again, my tidbits for you, if it says find an equation, 98% of the time we're gonna use
So what is that? Point.
point slope. But they might, in this last section of 6, work in one of those 2% questions if they drop you an intercept. Some of these questions are going to give you a couple of points. If they give you a couple of points, you're going to have to find the slope. Slope is the word of the chapter. Other questions, some of them are going to mention parallel. Parallel means they have the
Negative reciprocal. Oh, that's same
same
slope,
slope.
different.
Some of them mention perpendicular. Perpendicular is going to have
Negative.
negative reciprocals. When you get to 23 to 28, every question is different from every other question. It's going to take you a minute to analyze what's what. If they give you an equation, make sure that you put it immediately into
Point slope. Slope, point. Slope intercept point.
slope-intercept form. So if they give you an equation, get it y equals. Eventually, if you're making an equation, get it y equals. But when you first create it, it's going to look more like this point slope form. But when you get to 23 to 28, you're just going to have to pay attention and think. Sorry, it's going to happen once in a while. But other than that, you should be good. The first 6 are like the first example. The next 6 are like the second example. And there's a group of 4, a group of 6. With the last group of 6, they're each one of a kind. Anybody, anything that bothers you looking at 144? Tomorrow we'll do 3.8. 3.8 is the end of the chapter. You might want to start to look at the vocab quiz. Make sure you have all the answers. Does anybody need any more answers on the vocab quiz?
I'm gonna get it out.
Okay, yeah, if you get it out, I'll come visit with you on just one-on-one basis. Anybody have anything other than you had missed today need answers? Okay, we'd look to then probably take that 2 days away Friday. I don't think we'll have time tomorrow, but it wouldn't hurt to start to look at that a bit, just to make sure you have it. But Friday, that is a very likely project. Is there anybody that wants a spare, either because yours got lost or just because you want a spare to just practice? I have a couple extra ones, I'll hand those out. We can cut the record while I can hand out papers.